All right, seventh graders. So now that you have had a chance to kind of watch my demonstration, let's take a moment to debrief on everything that we've done. So when I was writing my small moment, first I thought about my experiences from the past. And one of the first things that came to mind was being in school. Being in school is such an important aspect of everybody's life. So I started to really think about those small interactions when I was in school. And then I used how I felt as that ninth grader to spark my interest in writing. But after that, I was able to go back and collect some small moments of my life and start writing about them. I didn't just write about that one instance pertaining to pole vaulting. I tried to identify and write about many small instances, but that was just the one that I felt like I was able to um, be inspired by to continue writing. So on this next slide here, you see that it mentions an anchor chart. Earlier in my demonstration, I wrote down an abbreviated version of the anchor chart, but you're going to be able to find this anchor chart in class. And for the distance learners, I have a big picture of what that anchor chart looks like on the very next slide. So what I want you to do is I want you to write down what is on this slide pertaining to the anchor chart. So this anchor chart is going to revolve around strategies for generating personal narrative topics. You see this first one says, think about a person who matters to you and then write those small moment stories, just like I did. A second idea, think about the first or last time that you did something important to you. Maybe it was the last time that you got to see your grandparents, or the first time that you met a friend, or maybe the first time that you got to try a sport, or the first time that you were successfully able to audition for a musical, or anything like that. The third option, the third bullet point here, is think of moments that really mattered to you, mainly because you were able to learn something. Now, what I think is great about this is it allows you to focus on maybe moments where you actually failed in an attempt to do something. Because as humans, we learn from failure, and it can be something that you reflect upon, and it can actually be a huge growing point for us. Last but not least, you can think about a place that matters to you. Maybe a place you've traveled, maybe it's your house, maybe it's a park nearby. But you can use pictures, maps, little quick notes, or sketches to jot those small moments that occurred in that place. Maybe you spent a lot of time in a park and rec league as a kid, and every summer you'd go back to the same field and you would participate in those different park and rec activities. That would be awesome. What you could do is you could sketch out that park that you used to go to, and then you can start to fill in all those minute little details, or come up with some sort of extravagant story of how you led the team to the kickball victory, or whatever small story it is that you feel, again, like you need to share and write about. So as I mentioned, if you have not done so already, pause this video right now and write in the 4 bullet points for this strategies for generating personal narrative topics, anchor charts. So here's just a few examples of some student work in regards to generating personal narrative topics. As you can see, this first one, they were writing pretty quickly, just jotting down ideas in that bullet point list. And then they expanded. Oh, that's that anchor chart, excuse me. Then they were able to expand. And you can see that they were making mistakes with their writing. Again, nobody's perfect. But what we're doing here is we're just getting our ideas down on paper, which will allow us to maybe take a step back and expand into a larger story later on. So pause the video, take a few moments, and I want you to read through these examples. And then from there, we're going to move on. All right. So as it says, now it is your turn. You're going to use the anchor chart to help you start thinking about your ideas. What I want you to do is think of any small moment in the first week of school. Oh, that says last week. I'm so sorry. That should say last month. So think of maybe during that first week of school last month, coming into seventh grade here at Central. And it could be anything. But what I want you to do is do your best to start writing about that event right now. All right. So think about that first week of school and let's start writing or jotting. Now, finally, something I want you to do again, we're going to use everyday small moments. You do not have to write down every single small, minute detail that's happened to you. All right. It's impossible to remember every single detail. But again, that's what's the beautiful thing about realistic fiction is it's inspired from a real moment. And then as you keep hearing me say, you get to sprinkle in those spicy details to kind of make the story that much more fun. Again, that's where your imagination comes into play. And I want you to think and ask to yourself, or every time you experience these small moments, I want you to think to yourself, wait, there could be a story here. What sort of story needs to be told? Think about all the movies, TV shows you've watched, all the books you've read, and think about the stories that have not been told. Because that's your opportunity. You can tell those stories that you think need to be shared. So let's get writing, right? Go to the next slide if you're at home learning right now. But everyone else, let's hop into writing.